Hey, this is XDF, and today we're looking at RainyDay from HackTheBox, and specifically we're at the foothold step, part of the step, where we are able to spawn a container and use it as a SOX proxy to get access to the dev site. And from there, we have access to an API endpoint that allows us to apply a regex to a contents of a file. And so we're going to use Python and requests to go through the SOX proxy and basically brute force character by character the contents of a file. It is a little bit slow, and at the end I'll kind of think about maybe if it's worth going back and looking at using async. I suspect it is, but it's something I played with for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes after the video, and I decided for what I needed to do to continue in the box, it wasn't worth it. At some point I'd love to come back and learn how to do that, but I won't get to it in this video. But we will, figure out, we will read files, so hopefully it's a fun programming exercise. Let's get into it. So let's talk about the scenario here and what we're going to be programming against. We've got access to this rainycloud.hdb website. We've managed to leak a user's Gary's hash and crack it. To get the password, we can log in. Gary doesn't have any active containers, but I've actually started one. The site allows you to host containers. Now, this container I started is empty. There's nothing useful in it. But I also have this dev.rainycloud.hdb, which says you can't access it from my IP. So what I've done here is I've gone into this container and you can execute commands on it, and I've uploaded Chisel, which is a tunneling binary that helps us to create tunnels. And I can then use the execute command background to connect back here and get a proxy, a SOX proxy. And so basically what I can do is I can send stuff via the SOX protocol through port 1080 on my machine, and it will tunnel through to Chisel, and then Chisel will send it out of the container. And what that means is I can come here and configure FoxyProxy. And what I'm going to do here is do patterns in order. I've got two proxies here, local SOX 1080 and burp. And we'll take a look at those real quick. I've got a video where I talk about how I set this up in general for HackTheBox. I can give a real quick show here. I've got my burp one, and all burp listens on is an HTTP proxy, and it listens on 8080. So that's what's set up here. And then my patterns are all these different things that have turned out to be things that I want to look at. So it's typically things I'm doing when I'm playing HackTheBox or other CTFs. So I've got things for anything, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 11, star.hackthebox, 10, 10, 129 is the DHCP, HackTheBox machines, anything that's got a colon in it, because if I'm putting it on a weird port, it's probably not like Google. So anyway, that's what I've got that set up there. So what I did now for the, let's get out of here. This local SOX one says it's a SOX 5 proxy listening on port 1080. I'm not going to proxy DNS, and that's important in this case because the container doesn't have anything to tell it, doesn't have any DNS, and if it tries to do DNS requests, they're going to fail. And if I look at the patterns here, I've gone ahead and added dev.rainycloud.hdb to it. It's also important to note this one comes before burp in the order. So now I can turn on patterns in order, and it first is going to say, oh, it matches dev.rainycloud.hdb. Let's use the SOX. So with that selected, if I come back here and refresh, I get the dev version of RainyCloud. So that is, we now have access to the dev version of RainyCloud. We are actually still logged in as Gary here. That's fine. I believe I've already done that. It must have a cookie already. I don't think the cookie carries over from the other version. Doesn't matter here. The important part then is we have this healthcheck API, which only works on the dev version, and it gives me the ability through some fuzzing, and again, I'll go through the fuzzing in the blog post associated with this video or with this Fox, link in the description. But it gives me the ability to send a file name and a regex basically, and it will tell me whether that's there or not, whether that works or whether it's matching. There we go, third time's the charm. So what does that allow me to do? Well, it allows me to brute force character by character the contents of any file, because I can say, does the file start with A? Does the file start with B? And that's what we're going to do, and we're going to write a script to do it for us. So let's see. We'll come here and let's give myself a new window, and we will just do code on this. We're going to work out a VS Code, I think exclusively here. We will do read.py, and let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with always with our shebang. Tell it we want to run with Python, something like that, Python 3. We're definitely going to need the requests module to do web requests. So the first thing we want to do before we do anything else is get ourselves a session. So like I will say like get authenticated as, I guess we'll say via proxy. And so we're going to create a session. We'll call it sesh. Is a request. Typing is hard. Dot session. And then we can say we're going to create. We'll define our. We'll call it sock5, and that's going to be an HTTP. Not HTTP. Socks 5 127.0.0.1 1080. So this is what this is. We can pass this to the proxies parameter in requests, and it will say, you know, before you send a request out, use this sock5 proxy. And what we can actually do is we can set the proxies here for the entire session. So now for the rest of the session, it's just going to use this sock5 proxy. And now we're going to log in. So we'll say response equals sesh.post. And I managed to watch a login request in burp. And so I know exactly what this looks like. And it's rainy cloud.hackthebox /login. And then we need some data equals username, Gary, password, rubber ducky. That should log us in. Let's go ahead and we'll check it. We'll do response dot and we'll save that. We'll come down here. We can do Python read and run that. And let's just make sure we have like the dev page and that we look logged in and everything. We come up here to the top. Let's see. So here's right here, we have the /logout in the menu bar. That's a good sign that we're logged in. We do have welcome to Rainy Cloud Dev, so we're hitting the right box. So I feel like we've established the connection. The proxy's working. We've managed to log in. That's what we need. So the next thing we need to do is we need to be able to check a pattern. So I'm going to create a function. We'll say def check pattern, if I can spell, and that's going to take a file name and a pattern. That. And what we're going to do is we're going to send a response equals sesh.post. And so that's going to go to http dev.rainycloud.hackthebox/API/healthcheck. And what is our data going to be? So again, this is I figured we had to kind of do a little bit of guesswork poking around to figure out these parameters, but basically we send it a file. That's going to be the file name. We're going to send it a type, and that is going to be custom. And we're going to send it a pattern, and that is going to be pattern. And so we've just, with this function, assuming it doesn't error out somehow, we're going to do response.json and result. Now, if this does error out, if I manage to crash the application, if I send in a bad pattern or something, I want, especially when I start brute forcing things for a long time, I'm going to accept that and I'm going to catch it, and I'm just going to import pdb. I'm going to pdb.setTrace. And so basically what's going to happen is if this fails, I am going to catch it and I'm going to drop right into the debugger so I can see what's going on. What I don't want to do is this could end up being kind of slow, and I don't want to be 3 minutes into something and it breaks and I go, huh, how do I figure out what that error was? So this will just stop the program right there. So with that, we can check the pattern. We'll go ahead and add a test case here. So we'll say like print check pattern, and now I guess I'll go ahead and add a let's see, what's our first pattern going to be? We'll do Etsy hostname, because I think there's a reasonable chance we can guess it's probably like RainyDay or something. Not necessarily, but we can check. And then we will pass in a pattern of an f string, and it will listen the caret to say the string starts with. Then we can do sys.argv1, and then we'll do dot star. So this kind of matches what we saw in the example. We don't have. So basically, it's going to say it starts with something. It starts with whatever we pass in, and then anything after that. And we need to import sys. Like that. And so with that, we can come here and we'll say, what do we think hostname starts with? Well, does this hostname start with an A? False, does not. Does it start with an R? We're going to cheat a little. We think it's rainy day, right? It does. Does it start with a rain? Does it start with rainy? Is it rainy day? Check that. True. Is it always giving us true? Like, is it rainy cloud? False. So it seems to be working. Looks like we're running our regex here against the Etsy hostname file. So that's pretty cool. Looks like we've established the ability to do that. So now we need to write some logic to give us the brute forcing capability. So we don't need this anymore. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly add like a check for usage. So we'll say if len this.argv1 or this.rv is not equal to 2, because we're just gonna take the program itself and the file that we're reading. We're gonna say print this.argv0, which is going to be the name of the binary that ran. And the space will be file to read. Like that. That look right. And then we will sys.exit. So if I run this now with nothing, it is still, did I not save? Let's see. Oh, there we go. It is, oh, it's doing the login. Maybe we want to move this in front of the login. So, because we don't need to even bother doing the login if we didn't send the right things. There we go, that looks better. Okay, so now we know we've got that. We can come down here and let's start to brute force. So we'll say something like contents is what we're gonna save. This is what we're trying to read out. And we'll say file name, just to make this easier, is sys.argv1, because I want to get rid of that. So now we're gonna do a while true loop. And in this loop, we're gonna say for string, let's say C in, we're gonna need the string library here, our module, import string, and we're gonna work with string.printable. I always don't use all of string.printable because there's a few I don't want. Import string, string.printable. So I definitely want all the numbers, the lowercase, the uppercase. I want most of these symbols because they could all be things in files. I guess a lot of times when I'm brute forcing, I knock off the last 6, which would be, you'll see these all the way through space. Here I do want space, tab, new line, I guess carriage return. So I'm really just gonna get rid of these last 2 because I don't know what /b and /c are. I don't expect to find those in files. So we'll say string dot printable -2 to get rid of the last 2. So we're gonna loop over characters. And what we're gonna do is we can say if check pattern fn, and then we'll do our f string again. So we'll do our same kind of thing we did out on the outside, contents, and then c dot star. So effectively what we're doing here is we're saying what we've already found, the next character, we're trying all the new next characters, and if that matches, we're going to come out of here and we're going to say contents plus equals c, and then break. Now we need a little bit more here. So we're building up contents. What I'm definitely I like to do like a status print, and I like to make it look kind of fancy. So we're gonna do like this. We're gonna put a carriage return, or just reset our line at the beginning, and we'll print contents and c, and then we will make the end equal nothing. And so effectively what we're gonna do at the beginning, each time we're trying a character, we're gonna print out the thing we're trying, but we're gonna write it over the previous line so that we don't so that it doesn't just like flood our screen. The other thing I have to figure out is how do I get out of this, right? I mean, hypothetically, I guess I could just hit the end and I'll just keep trying new letters over and over again, but I'm just going to do a check at the front before we even do this loop. And we will say if check pattern, and it's going to look very similar. So fn, and then here's this contents. So if the contents is it, so I guess we can say like, I believe that's the end of line or end of line. So if that matches, then we are going to break out of the while loop, because we basically what we're saying is like there is nothing else. Contents is the contents, and so if that's the case, we're done and we leave. So we will try this. I'm going to add a print at the end because I think it's might print with no new line. And we will do read.py on Etsy hostname. And so takes a second to get started, but you can see now it's brute forcing that first character, found the R, and there's the A. So it's starting to work its way through the host file. We already know from the previous thing that it is RainyDay. So let's see what happens here. I could speed this up, but it looks like we're close to done. So I guess we're nice. Okay, so it read us the host file. So we've read our first file. We start playing around with other files we could read, like lsb-release is a one that's on Ubuntu boxes, and this is going to find let's see, we'll open up while this is running. Let's open up another terminal. We can cat let's see lsb-release, and so it's going to look something like this. Now I'm running Ubuntu 2004. Vocal, I believe this box is running jammy, so we're going to see slightly difference in here, but same idea, right? And so it is working through that. I'm going to go ahead and see, what am I expecting here? Where's it going to? I think we're going to hit a problem, but it's going to happen any second now. Let's go. We'll just hang out. So right now, the next character should be an underscore. And interestingly, oh, so we crashed. And so we can do something like we have, we can look at the response dot request dot body, I believe will do it. And so we can see what was sent. So this dot 2a was what we added. So it's crashing when we send 28. And so we can say, what is the best way to do this? Char on ox28. So it's crashing when it sends the open parenthesis, or not parenthesis, yeah. And so what's happening here is it's actually passing this into the regex function. The regex function is saying like, hey, in parentheses means something in regex, and you're not, like, what's going on here? We didn't hit this error first because if we looked at string.printable up here, we always found the character. We never made it to this stuff, so we never had a chance to crash. But it's probably also going to crash on close. It's going to crash on the star. These are all problems, so we have to deal with that. I think the easiest way to do that is we will bring in import RE, and we can just come down here and say, where are we? Anything that is inside, anything that's contents or C, we want it to be treated as straight up characters. So we're going to use re.escape around contents here. And that will say, oh, this is a parentheses, but I want parentheses, so I'm going to put a backslash in front of it to escape it. And we'll do the same thing here. Re.escape. Ooh, I lost my thing. Where did I go? Didn't mean to do that. Let's see, try again. Re.escape. Contents, and I'm just going to do contents plus C, like that. So now, again, all my stuff there should be fine. We'll save this. Let's quit here and give this another run. And this is going to take a minute. I'll probably speed up this part of the video. All right. So it worked, but it only got the first line of the file. And so what's happening there? I think the issue is actually this $, and the $, is matching end of line, which is going to match when new lines start coming into play. Multi-line regexes can be difficult, so it's causing us some problems there. What I actually need here is a \Z, which says match the end of all content. And so that fix right there should be good, but it is going to cause us an issue when there's a new line in contents. When I go to print it here in my little like status print, I'm going to screw up the fact that I've already tried to remove having a new line on here. So now all of a sudden I'm going to start flooding my screen again. And so to solve that, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come here and make another buffer I'll call display. And so then we're going to come down here and we're going to print not contents, we're going to print display. Now I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I don't think I ever hit anything after. I'm never going to hit anything after. There are no carriage returns. And in the files I'm going to read, and if I get to /n, it better be there or else there's nothing, and else I've messed something up. So that's kind of an underlying assumption that makes this printing work. But if now we're going to print display this way, and then we'll come down here and we'll say display equals nothing if C equals new line. So if it's a new line, we're going to reset. Now we'll have already printed the new line up here when it tried it. And so then we're going to just come down here and reset display. Else display plus C. So basically what we're saying here is we're going to update display to either be a new line, or if it's just any other character, if it's a new line, we're going to clear it. Any other character, we're just going to add the character. And so now we can run this, and this should give us multi-line read. I will pause, and yeah, I think at this point, this one's going to take several minutes to run through, but I will speed it up for you so you have to see it quickly just to show that it does, in fact, read this whole file. And we'll come back after that. All right, so I just finished up. It took, I wasn't paying attention. I guess like 7 minutes for this to run. So it's kind of painfully slow, but it does do the job to leak the files. And this is, I'm gonna say, good enough to continue on probably for what I need on this box. I'm tempted to go back and try to do some async stuff, async web requests. The challenge is a lot of times these boxes on HackTheBox are so underpowered that, you know, even if you send out a bunch of async requests, they all just queue up and it ends up going roughly the same speed. But I might poke around with that a little bit. I don't know. If I do, I'll probably cut in right here and add some more video, I guess. But this is probably good enough to continue with the box to get what I need to keep going. So it might work for now. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.